can't read the report.
Oh, I could get it last night.
I don't know why mine won't come through. It keeps coming up saying error. It may be because I have Apple.
Could be. Or could it just be operator error?
Yeah, true, but I just tried it again.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, maybe somebody could give a quick, anybody up here give a quick recap? Terry Ann?
Or even just
Send it to you later?
Send that to me later, it's fine, because it's.
do a quick update if you want.
Yeah, it's real simple.
Yeah. I mean, so NeoGov, what we do is we use NeoGov in the background for us. So NeoGov actually is used for all the onboarding. So like as we have new commissioners and new board members, a lot of you may have already experienced this, but it's a portal for all of our onboarding, both for the commissioners, also for new employees. So the onboarding process was completely like a giant binder for employees, and so we moved everything digitally to make everything more efficient. And so NeoGov is basically supporting all the onboarding, and then also it's supporting all the recruitments. And so as we look to hire, or if we look to put a requisition out, NeoGov is kind of the back end that basically supports all the advertisement, the whole process, the submission of applications, resumes, the review of resumes, et cetera, and then also it also supports our intranet as well. So it has it's a back end to our intranet. So all the HR related stuff that we have is also supported by NeoGov, and so it's a back end software that kind of supports all of those things. And this is just because the executive director authority is only $10,000, and this is $10,591. We have to bring this to the board for approval. So, yeah, so this is just the SaaS subscription for that software.
Just went up a little bit. We didn't see it before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd be glad to move the entire consent calendar.
Okay. First, we have a motion and a second, but can I have public comment on this first, if there is any?
We have no public comment, written or virtual.
Okay. Great. We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack.
Yes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We're now moving to the regular agenda items. First item will be an action item introduced by Terry Ann Grover to discuss appointments to the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Halima's going to kick it off, and then I will end it.
Okay?
Good morning, everyone. We are very excited to finally get the ball rolling on the Accessibility Advisory Committee. So today we have a couple of items. The first one is the appointment of 4 members of the public to serve as representatives of the AAC. We were very fortunate to get 9 applicants, and so you are able to appoint not only the primary representative, but also an alternate if you so choose. We are also requesting that you approve and move forward with the resolution 2606A to dissolve the PCC so that we can formally move forward with the new AAC. And then finally to confirm the AAC nominations and appoint nominees to the AAC for the other membership positions, which include our public transit agencies, our human service transportation providers, public transit operators, Contra Costa County staff, MTC Commission representative, and then an authority board representative, which will be discussed at the board meeting.
So Terry Ann, you're up next.
Yeah, so I'll just provide a brief overview of the interview process. So it'll be conducted in the Diablo Conference Room. They are closed interviews, however, they are open to the public upon request. We'll allow the candidates into the Diablo Conference Room one at a time, and I'll go ahead and coordinate the interviews. And then after that, the candidate will come back into this room, and then the next candidate will be brought into the Diablo Conference Room. Each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to answer 4 questions that will be asked by the APC members. No follow-up questions may be asked until open session. And then upon completion of the interviews, the ABC members will convene back into open session for any follow-up deliberations, questions, and nominations, and then followed by a motion to recommend the appointments for the full authority board approval at the February 18th meeting. And as part of this, alternates may also be appointed. So we'll go ahead and now kick off the interviews and have the members convene into the Diablo conference room. And then I'll call the candidates up one at a time.
Are we going to dissolve the PCC after we come back in? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, a
it'll be
one
part of the recommendation.
action. Okay. Glad you all got settled. Now we got to move.
You want to need coffee or water?
No.
Ron, need coffee or water? You're good?
Okay, Emily, you ready to go? All right. We will now convene into open session for discussion. Are there any comments or follow-up questions from the committee?
I would just add, I think it was great for the candidates we had. We had those live today. Just for the record, we had one online interview that was on Tuesday. But I think it was a great option, and I think we had an opportunity to appoint some really great people.
Yep, great. I just want to thank everybody for their interest. That's, you don't always get 9 potential candidates for 4 roles and an alternate, so I just want to thank everybody for doing that. Do we have any, if there are no follow-up questions, do we have any nominations from the committee?
Yeah,
I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
I appreciated the interviews because it was very insightful to me to hear some of the comments. I mean, you get kind of lived experiences, and it's going to help me in my role as a board member out in the future. There was a lot of issues that were discussed having to do with access or wayfinding or customer service and things like this, just availability of transportation in certain areas. So I really do think that we got a good pool of candidates here, and I think we'll be able to make some solid picks.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you on the comments. For those of you that don't know, I sit on County Connection Board as well, and MTC. So I've got the 9 Bay Area counties, so a lot of that information was super helpful. I wish I had brought a pen with me to take notes, but I'm going to have to do that after the fact. Anyway, okay. Do we take public comment first, or do you want nominations first?
Public comment.
Public comment?
We do have one in person, Roxanne Stallings.
Okay. Oh, can somebody, got it? Okay.
I'm Roxanne Stallings from Rossmore, and I'm here to support the candidacy of Lawrence Levin. We have worked as advocates in Rossmore for several years together, and I'm also a very strong advocate of the senior group because I'm blind, and I moved to Rossmore for the purpose of transportation. Rossmore is reducing their transportation. They have been ever since COVID. They used to be a robust system. They advertise themselves as a robust system, so if you do an AI search about Rossmore, you'll get complete misinformation. The reality is that they have completely eliminated our weekend transportation. You have eliminated your #1 bus to the Rossmore area because we are no longer supporting your system by eliminating people's accessibility to your bus system. They have never provided us with evening transportation to all of the events that we put on in Rossmore. You can't even go out to dinner in our own Creekside restaurant and get home again. Our daytime transportation is from 8 to 6 o'clock. We have 11 buses. They only they only keep 4, maybe 5 buses on the streets, weekdays only. Our transportation is being very limited, and the intent is to limit it even more. They want to change our budget and give the money back into other projects in Rossmore. We are desperate for transportation help. We are desperate for autonomous vehicles. We are desperate for funded elements like to Uber and Lyft. That's even being withdrawn as well. So, just to represent the senior population, I have not been driving since 2001. I moved to Rossmore because I wanted to live here, be able to be social, be able to be fully functional, and be able to get transportation to fulfill my needs as a blind person. It hasn't happened that way. And I've seen just a degradation of the opportunity to fulfill my needs as a senior citizen because of that. So I hope you will vote for the candidate Lawrence Levin. She is dedicated to this process as well. She's always been a user of public transportation. She doesn't drive a car. She doesn't have any alternative transportation. And just to let you know what it's like to be a senior citizen in Contra Costa County, we had to bring another person from Rossmore to come here. We couldn't figure out how to get here on public transportation. I learned fortunately from Sarah that it is possible and is easy, but we ended up coming into the parking lot here to park. Do you know how many seniors it takes to be able to drive into your parking lot and be able to function with the electronic system of having to scan your credit card and with your cell phone and and pay $10 for an opportunity to come and talk to you? Do you know how many seniors it takes to do that?
Yes, 3.
Two of us couldn't do it. Fortunately, Lauren went through this experience once before, and she was actually able to do it. It cost us $10 for this opportunity. Do you know how much stress that we were in trying to get through the system, trying to get in here to this office, trying to find the parking lot, trying to get here? This is what a senior's experience is all about. So we really want to participate in working with you in helping advocate for the senior citizen population here. We are aging. Some of us are still capable of being functional mentally, and some of us are still being able to function physically, but the reality is we need a lot of support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Emily, any additional public comments?
No further public comments.
Okay, thank you. So do I have a motion? Yes.
Madam Chair, I would be delighted to make recommendations, starting with, we have 2 categories, persons with disabilities and older adults. For older adults, I would like to nominate Robert Sanders and Lauren Schlevin. And for persons with disabilities, Sarah Birdwell. And give me a second. Brian, thank you. Brian, we interviewed previously. And also we'd like to, I think this would be a good idea because of a very unique background in this person, but as an alternate, to nominate Rebecca McMenon to the committee as well. So that'd be 5.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Arnerich?
Aye.
Commissioner Arnerich, can we clarify in the motion which of them will be an alternate since we have 4 seats for primary?
Rebecca. Yeah, Rebecca, I said, was the alternate.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Can I just ask a question? Are we taking, because we also have these other things as well, the appointments and also, right, Helima, the recommendation had multiple components to it. So is the motion for
Yeah.
all those things, or are we doing separate motions?
Can we just do the motion for the candidates and then do the rest of the?
Yeah, why don't we
I just want to make
We
sure
can.
it's clear. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we just have a roll call vote on those nominations?
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Alt-Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack.
Yes.
Aye, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so the other motions we need to are is to dissolve the PCC, and what else?
You
And the
do
form?
also have in your agenda packet the nomination letters from the other representatives, so the transit agencies, the human transportation providers, and the social service providers.
Right.
So it is kind of giving the okay on that so they
Okay.
can move ahead.
Yep.
There were 2 letters that were not included in that packet. They came in a little bit late. And so because of that, you do have to select the entities for the social service group, so I can share what the options are. Once you select the entities or recommend the entities, those entities will decide what individuals will represent on their behalf.
Let's just take this in pieces, maybe. You want to just start with the PCC first?
Yeah, let's dissolve the PCC first,
So I move to take that staff recommendation.
okay?
I'll second.
All right, can we have a roll call vote on dissolving PCC?
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Alt-Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and so now we go to
It's the ratification, so
ratification of the AAC and its
Of-
bylaws.
well, actually of that membership. So she has a number of recommendations. So maybe I'll give some background on the process here. So we did a call, this is the public at-large process. And so then as part of the AEC, we requested like the trans operators to appoint someone, right, et cetera, et cetera. And so maybe Halima can take a moment and actually go through that list really quick in terms of who's going to be ratified. But we haven't done this in the past before, but this was a request when we were forming the Accessibility Advisory Committee to really strengthen the relationship between the board and the AAC, so that way the board knows the entire membership of the AAC and not just these at-large memberships. So that way you all see exactly who is on this entire committee, since we're forming a whole brand-new committee. So that's
Okay.
the ratification piece, and then the next piece is the social services piece, right? So we'll get to that next, but let's just focus on the ratification piece. So
Yes.
who are they ratifying?
So you are ratifying the 5 public transit operators representing the Alameda Contra Costa Transit District, Bay Area Rapid Transit, the Central Contra Costa Transit Authority, also known as County Connection, Eastern Contra Costa Transit Authority, also known as Tri-Delta Transit, and West Contra Costa Transit Authority, also known as WestCat. And then there's also the representative for the MTC Commission. This is an ex officio non-voting member. We have not yet received the letter for the Contra Costa staff member. We should have that by the board meeting. And then, yeah, we can do those, and then I'll share a little bit about the social service agencies and the human transportation providers.
Okay, so we have nominations from the 5 transit agencies. Can we get a nomination to confirm those 5?
Yep, I'll move that we accept the nominations as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion.
Can I ask for public comment?
Sure, you can ask.
We have no public comments.
Oh, thanks. Asked and received. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Alt-Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we're on to the social services piece.
Yes, so we have 4 seats for social service agencies, 1 representing older adults, 1 representing persons with disabilities, 1 representing persons of limited means, and 1 representing people with developmental disabilities. And we have received applications or the nomination letters for those. And then we have 2 for the human service transportation providers. They must receive Measure J or Section 5310 funding to be eligible. And so these are total of 6 seats, but we have 7 nomination letters. So you need to pick 6 to move forward with.
And mine will not open.
I can read out this, the list of
That
the
would be,
entities.
that would be great.
Yes. So we have Mobility Matters, we have Choice in Aging, we have the Independent Living Center, we have Developmental Disabilities Council, we have the Contra Costa Health Services, and then we have the City of Walnut Creek and the City of San Pablo. San Pablo is the letter that is not included in your packet.
Okay, I'm missing one on my writing list. Mobility Matters, Independent Living,
Choice in Aging,
Choice in Aging,
Developmental Disabilities Council,
Yep.
Contra Costa Health Services,
Oh, that's what I was missing.
City of Walnut Creek, and City of San Pablo.
Okay. So we have 7, and we need to,
I move that we accept those nominations as just presented.
there's
I
7 of
second.
them.
I thought we were accepting all 7.
We need 6, I thought.
We need
Or is
6.
it only 6? You want,
Can you do an alternate?
Yes, you can.
Oh, excellent.
oh,
Well, all right, who wants to pick which one's the alternate? Everybody's shaking their head, nobody wants to pick
how
one.
are the cities, I would think it might be one of the cities.
Yeah, that's what
Because
I was
think
thinking too.
The initial 5 groups are essential to be on there. what is the role? Is there a differentiation between why it's Walnut Creek and why it's San Pablo?
Those two would fall under the they could fall under the human service transportation providers because they do receive the Measure J or 5310 funds.
Rita, what would your recommendation be since you're
Well,
make Walnut
it's
Creek?
kind of hard for me to say, because San Pablo, the representative, has been the chair of the PCC. So I assume she still wants to be involved.
Okay, I'm getting whispers in my ear.
What's the recommendation?
So we,
I mean,
the
my suggestion
recommendation
is
is
to
that
make.
Walnut Creek is the
Yeah, I'll just
alternate.
make it more public. I mean, Walnut Creek should probably be the alternate, in my opinion, so that's who I would recommend.
And I think also along with that line is just for the geographic distribution. So I would make that, so the 5 entities, those nonprofit organizations, City of San Pablo would be the 6 nominations, with Walnut Creek being the alternate.
I think since we've got Rossmore represented on the
Yeah,
group,
good.
that would be Walnut Creek, so.
Yeah.
Then that makes Walnut Creek the alternate appropriate, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on that. Can we have the roll call vote? Oh, public comment, sorry. Almost
We have
forgot.
no public comments written or virtual.
Okay, so now can we take the roll
And
call vote?
apologies, who was the second?
Rita was.
Thank you. Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack. Aye, motion passes unanimously.
And I just want to say thank you to Danielle Elkins and Halima on all this work. This has been a huge undertaking in getting this committee formed. I also want to thank Terry Ann as well as Emily and all the admin team in terms of supporting this as well. This has been a huge undertaking. I mean, we're literally forming a whole brand-new committee that's really focused on accessibility, and this is a really big deal. I mean, this is one of the recommendations that was out of the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan that was approved by the board like almost two and a half years ago now. And so a big part of accessibility is really just addressing the governance challenges and issues, and so that's why we had to dissolve the PCC and kind of recreate this committee to be able to address that, which was an identified kind of systemic issue in the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan. And so with this new committee, we at staff and everyone are really excited to be able to really start moving forward more bigger recommendations from the Accessible Transportation Strategy. This is really bigger, sorry, not more bigger, sorry. Bigger, thank you for that. So I'm an engineer, come on. You can't expect much. You can't expect much here. So, but yeah, so we're excited to be able to start moving bigger, goals and accomplishments with this AAC, particularly like the one call, one click and some other items, as well as support a lot of the needs from these users. And so this was kind of the first step in terms of this kind of undertaking. So thank you for your support. And then we'll present all this obviously at the board meeting on February 18th.
Yeah, I just want to add my thanks. It's obviously listening to everybody this morning, there's obviously a lot of issues to be addressed. And so the sooner this committee can move forward, probably the better. So thank you, everybody. All right, we will move on to the next item, which will be presented by Lindy Johnson to provide an update on legislation at both state and federal levels. We have Mark.
Good morning, Chair Nowak. Thank you. Happy to introduce Mark Watts, who is here to provide us with a state update. Mr. Watts?
Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to participate virtually today. I had intended to introduce my two of my new business partners, but just to make sure you know about the change that we've taken on, which gives me and the new firm a much broader and deeper ability to service you. Senator Bill Dodd and his chief of staff formed a firm a year ago. Now that he's passed through his year, Senator Dodd, will be able to lobby along with Ezra Chavan. And Anna Vasquez is a junior lobbyist as part of that firm. So we are all now together working diligently on behalf of you and other transportation clients we have. So thank you for letting me to state that. They weren't able to be on this morning, but look forward to having them meet with you in the future. Legislatively, I think January is notable because that's the portion of the year in the second half of a session that two-year bills have to be dealt with. So as of January 31st, all the measures that have been carried over from last year either had to stay behind or move forward, and they're moving forward. I think my observation after couple of decades of working on this is that those bills will not be immediately heard in the second house. They tend to drift towards the end. So we'll be able to take a look at those bills yet again to see if there's any changes of significance as yet the new bills are being introduced. So that's an issue that we lobbyists have to deal with and want to make sure that you know that we're on top of that. Secondarily, the Senate has undergone a change. I mentioned this, I think, toward the end of the last year, that Senator Mike McGuire was stepping down and being replaced as pro tem by Monique Limon from Santa Barbara. She's taken over the reins and is doing a very good job of meeting all the challenges that a new leader has to meet. Some benefit to the county here is that Senator Grayson is now continues to be on Revenue Taxation Committee and the Transportation Committee. So you have a voice from your region in those important committees. So moving on, the budget was the big news for this year, and we had some early look-aheads at what the governor was going to propose compared to what the legislative analysts had suggested would be the case. The governor's budget, when it was released in early January, was over nearly $250 billion in the general fund. And that was based on strong increase in state tax revenues, amounting to almost $42 billion, higher than what had been forecasted earlier last summer. At this point, the budget shows that there's a $2.5 to $2.9 billion shortfall that is being addressed by suspending the rainy day fund through some additional deposits. Beyond that, in the transportation arena, and forgive me for the loud noise behind, but they're extending the state capitol and doing a lot of public work today. So that's the noise in the background, and I can't get rid of it. What I was going to mention is of import in the transportation budget. It was pretty much a standalone, leave-alone budget. There was a reduction or a one-year reduction in the amount of revenues available for zero-emission transit. They were expecting an extra $200+ million, and that was not forthcoming in the budget. We'll see how that gets treated by the legislature as they move forward. And beyond that, I think the most recent news that affects transportation finance in your region is finally there was an agreement to move forward on the long-awaited loan program. Essentially, instead of $750 million, that's a $590 million allocation available through the TIRCP, the Transit and Intercity Rail program, capital program, to MTC. So that's $590 million will be available to MTC to address issues at Caltrain, Muni in San Francisco, BART, and AC Transit. The funding and repayment is spelled out in the law. I think there's going to be even more work done on some of that. I know other parts of the states are concerned about making sure that the loans are all integral to within the Bay region, and that the repayments are integral to the Bay region, and not leaning on other portions of the state. And there's taking a careful look at that right now. I had some conversations to assure them that the bill appears to be drafted pretty strongly and will avoid any counter issues with the rest of the state at this, as far as I read the bill now. Beyond the loans, there's a couple of interesting new bills that had been introduced. I just thought I'd bring them to your attention because I think we'll be looking at them pretty closely. There's Senator Weiner had been working on SB 677, which dealt with definitions of commuter rail. And it looks like he was able to move that bill, but intends to come back with even more changes in another cleanup bill to SB 79, which was enacted last year. In addition, there is a interesting bill that was introduced that would extend the repeal date for the local agency authority to use design build in many local cases, including transit. Specifically does not include roadways or highways. So I think those bills are probably the ones I think I'll be bringing back through staff in the near future, depending upon what other bills get introduced as well. So that's my report for today. Hope I didn't go too fast. I know you had spent a lot of time working on your committee appointments, and I think that's very important, and I didn't want to drag out your hearing today. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions or comments from the board? No? Yes?
Mark, thank you. I see there was a bill that just popped up on, Caltrans has been working on a new methodology to replace the gas tax, and they have a series of those. But a bill popped up yesterday, I think, that was talking about a first step in that. Have you looked at or tracking any of those on what's going on? Because
Well,
the concern
I
is,
looked at
yeah.
I'm sorry, I did look at the bills that were introduced overnight and the day before, and I hadn't seen anything like that. I'll go back and take another look and advise Lindy if I find that.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
thank you.
I don't think it's a bill, but there has been discussions about replacing the
No,
gas
I'm on the
tax.
committee, the Statewide Committee. I'm on that committee.
Oh.
I just got the presentation. But I just saw, I got a notice yesterday of a bill that popped up.
Oh.
I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it right now.
I've seen that.
But anyway, it'd be good to make sure we are,
Yeah.
because it's, one of the things is talking about, it's actually raising taxes. And, who gets the money? Caltrans has their hand on it, DMV has their hand on it, and it's all over the place. And does the gas tax go down, or are you gonna double pay? That's part of the issue, so.
Let me apologize. I misheard when you first opened up, sir. I'm very familiar with this bill. It's AB 1421. The author it was introduced a year ago. The author is the chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee, Chair Wilson. And it is really focused, and I'll just be very blunt and truthful. It really focuses only on what are the available areas of research that discuss how the implementation of a VMT tax would work. It doesn't address the items you just raised, which are very important items. Will this be a supplemental approach if it ever was brought forward? The bill doesn't address that. In other words, it doesn't say it will replace the gas tax, and it doesn't address whether it will supplement the gas tax. Having spent some time before she introduced that bill, because I had worked in this area earlier in the decade, it's not, I think she's just trying to understand and get the public to understand how something like a VMT tax, and not necessarily a VMT tax, but a mileage charge tax would actually work before bringing it back as a proposal.
Right, and there's a flat tax, but they're also talking about double taxing. So
Well,
you pay the-
I think the problem is the gas tax is going down because of the number of electric
It
vehicles
just
out there.
finally is starting to go down. It's not going down, it eventually will, but
Yeah.
the reality is it's actually being proposed, it's gonna be a dual tax. You're gonna be charged
Oh,
with the,
last I'd heard it was
yeah, well,
substituted, but
yeah, they just
this
presented it,
probably goes around a couple times.
10 days ago. So, thanks, Mark.
You
Can I
got it.
just quickly mention too that AB 1421 is on the list of bills we'll likely be bringing to you in March and April for further review and discussion. And as currently written, the report that would go to the legislator will be reported out or be due as of January 1st, 2027. So we would know more at that point should this pass.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions or comments for Mark? Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Lindy?
Thank you, Mark. I'm happy to now pass it to Maddie, who is here from Ty Ginsburg and Associates to provide us with a federal update. Ms. Pike?
Thanks, Lindy. Can you hear me? Sorry, I've been having a little bit of issues.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me again. It's great to see everyone here. I'm going to run down a couple of things that have been going on in DC. It's been pretty busy January. First, we'll talk about government funding and how a shutdown of the full government shutdown was narrowly avoided. What's next for Congress, and then briefly talk about CCTA's staff trip to DC a couple weeks ago. So on Tuesday, the Congress passed and the president signed into law a bill that ultimately funds the government mostly through September 30th, 2026. This was a very hard-fought compromise. Honestly, I wasn't certain that they would even be able to get here last week if you had asked me that. But we were able to get here, and the one thing that you folks are probably aware of is the Department of Homeland Security is not included in this bill. There was a short-term extension of Homeland DHS funding that will go to February 13th. And most of the negotiations there are about border policy and some of the things you've been hearing about with ICE in Minnesota. In terms of transportation funding in the bill that was just passed, spending-wise, it's pretty decent considering the Congress and administration's stances on just funding in general. For transportation, there is an emphasis on the traditional infrastructure like roads, bridges, aviation safety. Notably, there was one rescission that you've probably heard about to the high-speed rail in California. And then there were some rescissions to unobligated funds for electric vehicle charging stations. Also, notably, the funding package included earmarks, or the community project funding, which made up a pretty significant amount of the overall funding in the bill. So we're anticipating that will probably continue for fiscal year 27. In terms of sort of the DOT overall agency funding levels, the Federal Highway Administration had a little bit of a bump up. It's now funded at $64 billion. FTA, there was a slight, for the Federal Transit Administration, there was a slight 1.5% decrease in funding, so that's $16.5 billion. The FAA saw a pretty significant increase in funding by 6%. That's mostly due to air traffic control hiring and a lot of the control tower radar modernization efforts that the FAA is undergoing right now. And then NHTSA funding, which I know CCTA cares a lot about, that's steady. That's still about $1.3 billion. So in DC right now, the focus is kind of shifted from being in an absolute crisis mode of trying to avoid yet another government shutdown to, let's figure out what we can do before the elections in November, when Congress starts, really it's August when Congress starts to slow down again. So I think that, as I said, trying to come to an agreement on DHS funding will definitely be one of the big things that you'll hear about in the next couple weeks. But transportation-wise, I'd say surface transportation reauthorization now will probably get a little bit more of a focus than it had in the past, or at least in the past couple months. As you probably recall, the IIJA, the current funding bill for surface transportation programs, expires this September. So the committees in the House and Senate have been doing work towards crafting another bill that probably will not be as robustly funded as the IIJA, but they're working towards getting something done. This coming up, I guess the next 2 months, we're probably going to see hopefully a bill from the House. The Senate hasn't really done that much in terms of drafting legislation, but the House is working on it. They have been they should be hosting some public stakeholder meetings in the next 2 months, which we'll be watching. And I just be remiss to say, especially you're speaking about the VMT. One of the biggest issues is just going to be the funding gap. The Highway Trust Fund continues to face a solvency crisis, and figuring out how to fund and how to make up for the revenue that's just not there is going to be something that Congress needs to figure out before they're able to move forward with a bill. And just to be quite honest, and anything can happen, but although hearings are underway, it will probably be difficult to pass a long-term highway bill this year with kind of, the financial issues that I just mentioned, and also in an election year, there's just a lot going on. So we'll be monitoring that, but we have been advocating for CCTA's priorities, both when CCTA has been in DC with regulators and members of the House and Senate, and also that's just something that we're constantly doing all the time. So I think that's about it in terms of surface transportation and appropriations. I do just want to mention, as I said, CCTA was in DC. Tim, Lindy, Ryan, and Danielle. I thought that the trip was really productive. There were a lot of meetings. It was great with a lot of members of Congress and key DOT officials. We covered everything, and this was at the Transportation Research Board conference. So met with a lot of different folks within the administration, which I think is important. Everyone from the FAA to NHTSA to FTA, and so I thought that was great. And then one other thing that I just wanted to bring up quickly is that Congress is kind of has a renewed interest in autonomous vehicle policy. A couple days ago, or actually yesterday, the Senate Commerce Committee held a hearing focused on the future of self-driving vehicles. And I just wanted to bring this up because there's been such an emphasis here today in this meeting on issues facing the elderly and disabled populations. And a big key takeaway from that hearing was how legislators are really trying to figure out how new autonomous vehicle policy can really benefit seniors and the disabled community. And so we heard yesterday there were witnesses from Tesla, Waymo, there was a professor from South Carolina, and then the Autonomous Vehicle Industry Association. So I think, I don't know if any major movement is going to happen this year if a surface transportation bill does not happen, but there is definitely a renewed interest in this, both in the House and Senate. And so I just wanted to bring that up as well. And I think that's all I have, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Tim's got a couple.
Yeah, I just got 3 additions. One is on the appropriations. We were successful in securing $1.9 million for the Oakley Antioch Smart Signal program. So that was a generous, supportive contribution with Mark DeSaulnier's community benefit projects. So you can all thank Mark for that. And that was in the appropriations. And then the second thing on the appropriations and the THUD is that the SMART program was eliminated completely. So from a funding perspective, and that was a program that CCTA. We were a recipient for the Optimat under SMART, and so it doesn't impact that, but doesn't impact any previous projects or allocations. It's just going forward, the program's been eliminated, which is unfortunate because it was, one of the few kind of like research, technology, innovation programs in the IIJA. So we're a little disappointed about that, but and it was interesting because things can change so quickly, because when we were in DC in January, there was a lot of discussion about the SMART guidelines, like hitting the streets like any day, and that there was going to be an autonomous vehicle program as part of the SMART, and all of a sudden it just got eliminated. So, and then the third thing is MEGA. So, Stephanie's been working really hard on the MEGA grant. We just recently got additional feedback from headquarters from DC on some additional forms. So we're still kind of in that crossing Ts and dotting Is on the MEGA grant.
Okay, any questions?
I would just add a few comments. It happened to be last week that us three mayors sitting on this side, we were all in Washington, D.C. for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Mark and I had opportunities to do a couple of other meetings. One was with DOT and 5 different groups in there. And they brought it up. I mean, first of all, they were saying autonomous vehicles, #1 priority for this administration. Number 2, they changed the funding. Where you used to get money for buses, that money now is eligible for autonomous vehicles. That's a big deal because that's part of their program. Second thing, they were aware of the MEGA grant, and they quietly said, that's coming forward, just what you're saying. Also, we had the opportunity to meet with Senators Padilla and Schiff. Padilla is the one that's working on one party's side with the bills that they're trying to get through. Adam Schiff also mentioned about the MEGA grant and his office and poking around a little bit to help nudge. And they've had some other ones, but this one was on the top of their list. So I think that was really encouraging. And there were a lot of other things, but the big announcement was to say that money from all those transit agencies who could get their bus replacement, that now is eligible for autonomous vehicles.
Any additional comments or questions for Maddie? Okay, thank you very much. Lindy, anything else?
No, thank you, Ms. Pike.
Okay, is there any written or verbal, oral public comment?
We have no public comments, written or remote.
Okay, great. The next item is an action item presented by Lindy Johnson to seek approval of the 2026 state and federal legislative advocacy platforms.
Thank you, Chair Noah. Commissioners, as stated, I am here today to seek your approval of our state and federal legislative advocacy platforms. I did want to go through both briefly and just point out a few small changes and adjustments, additions. For the most part, you'll definitely notice that layout-wise, these look fairly similar, and a lot of our priorities have remained, but there have been some things I wanted to highlight. On the state legislative advocacy platform, I wanted to mention that we better outlined that we wanted to engage with efforts to reform VMT policies, as we do anticipate the state might be engaging in some of those conversations this year. We've heard that some of the MPOs are engaged in those conversations. There's also a state committee called the Sustainable Communities Task Force that was set up at the state level to look at a handful of policies, but SB 375 being one of them. So just wanted to mention that that is more clearly outlined in this platform. I think most importantly, I want to mention that the very first line is that we will pursue legislation to renew the Contra Costa Transportation Authority's reauthorization to place a transition and use tax before voters. So we do plan to introduce legislation this year. We've had preliminary conversations, very encouraging ones, with Senator Eric Wein, and we are likely to be introducing it with him and in partnership with his office, though we have not clearly introduced that bill yet. Should we have, we certainly would ensure that you all had seen it and had it in front of you. We are still having some ongoing conversations with them about fact sheet and minor details about the bill, but anticipate it will be introduced shortly, and we very much appreciate all of your support as we try to move that over the finish line this year in 2026. It would enable us to continue conversations about future transportation expenditure plans and the ability to place something on the ballot in future years. So happy to talk with each of you individually about some of those details, but it's definitely the most important part of this year's platform. Other than that, a lot of similarities to last year's concentration on expanding the availability of innovative project delivery, interest in connected autonomous vehicle technology. We also added engagement in advanced air mobility policy making, as it's something we'll likely be engaging in this year around the Redefining Mobility Summit, and we're starting to see more conversations at the state level about the policies that will regulate that. Lastly, I just wanted to say we continue to support increased transit options and funding for such, given some of what's happening in the Bay Area this year. The legislative element of that has already been taken care of, but we will continue to monitor and engage in legislation that continues to support our transit partners. That's what I wanted to point out on the state level. Would you all prefer to approve them jointly or individually?
We can do it jointly.
Perfect. Then I will move to the federal legislative advocacy platform. With this, we really intended to better articulate how our goals are aligned with the administration's goals around safety, efficiency, the importance of the ability to deliver projects, and economic development. So there was some changes in wording to ensure that it was clear that we were best aligned with some of the priorities, again, of this administration and the discretionary grant programs likely to come down through the administration. I also want to point out just that, as mentioned by Ms. Pike, that a lot of our concentration this year will be around the transportation reauthorization effort, which we hope will be ongoing, perhaps even occur. And a lot of what is written in here kind of aligns with that. An example would be that we added the advocating to preserve municipal tax and bond authorities to expand direct allocation to local agencies. That's something we currently have, but would need to be in the reauth. And so we'll want to ensure that those things are there as this bill continues down the line. We also continue to support connected autonomous vehicle technology and legislation and bills that kind of relate to that. And this is still in the federal platform, but we looked at that quite closely and made sure that all of the wording that we had in here was likely aligned with what the administration will be putting forward this year. So a lot of alignment. Last year, our federal platform really had to do with kind of brand recognition around CCTA2, right? Wanting to introduce us as an agency to this administration. I think we've done that fairly well this year. And so we tried to really take the federal platform and shift it towards policy goals this year and a little bit less towards just the recognition of the agency. Because again, I think we've done fairly well this year in achieving that goal. With that, I ask for your approval of the state and federal platforms. Thank you.
Any questions? No? Public comment?
We have no public comment, written or virtual.
I'm getting the hang of this. Got time, right? Can I have a motion and a second?
I'll move approval.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernal,
Yes.
Vice Chair Xavier,
Aye.
Chair Noack.
Yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is an informational item presented by Ryan McLean to provide an update on Gomentum Station.
All right, thank you, Chair Noack. Good morning, Commissioners. And my camera. Screen 2. And camera. All right, I'm also trying to get the hang of this.
Can you put that on, yeah, whatever?
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, got it.
Are you sharing the screen?
Yes. So today, let's see, the last time we gave an update on operations at Gomentum Station to the board was last May, after a year into CCTA taking back over Gomentum Station. We've had a couple meetings with the Gomentum Station ad hoc committee since then. And now that we've kind of wrapped up the 2025 year, we've finalized the revenue numbers and everything for Gomentum Station. So wanted to come back and present to the board on how things have gone. Just as a way of background, quick reminder, the goals and objectives of Gomentum Station are really to provide a location to test technology and see how that technology and innovation could better support transportation to the people in Contra Costa County. So that's always really kind of been the goal. Also to look at economic growth and job creation opportunities, enhanced safety, healthier environment. So this is really why CCTA is continuing to push Gomentum Station forward. The technologies continuing to be tested out there are really around everything autonomous vehicle oriented, as well as connected vehicle. I'll talk a little bit about some of the money coming in, but we really see this, aligned with what Commissioner Arnrich was saying. This is a big focus of the administration. It's put us in a really good position in terms of continuing to help with regulatory and rulemaking, both at the state and federal levels around autonomous vehicles, and has really helped to bring more money to CCTA to move these programs forward. Just a history of this. So in October 2023, AAA announced that they would be ceasing operations of Gomentum Station, which really kicked into this mode of figuring out how to transition it back. That brought us to April 2024, when NextGen began management of Gomentum Station for CCTA. And the agreement between us and Next Generation is a 5-year commitment. CCTA continues to own the program, the rights to the name, physical assets at the facility. We also have priority access for any projects that we want to test out there, and I'll talk about some of those later on. But NextGen is responsible for the day-to-day management of the facility. And also, the agreement defines the required documents and commitments for NextGen. It defines the revenue sharing model, which is a minimum of $500,000 or 10% gross revenue each year, and then defines liquidated damages if the contract is not met. So jumping into the financials, I wanted to go back to 2024 because I think it just helps tell the overall story of the finances at Gomentum Station. 2024 was really the transition period. This is when contracts were being moved over to CCTA and NextGen, where we were figuring out the pricing structure and figuring out what assets we had. So it was really a period of transition where a lot of money was going in, but we weren't seeing the revenues come up in line with that, which was expected at the time. But we did finish Q4 in the black, which was kind of a good indicator of 2025 to come. So 2025 was really about stabilizing operations at Gomentum Station. You can see a lot of quarters in the black there. Q3 was a big quarter in terms of revenue. This was actually because we're doing a cash basis. So a bunch of outstanding AR was paid off in Q3. So that's why that quarter's a little offset from the rest. Q4 was to kind of balance out. More money was put into paying the requirements, the commitments to CCTA. So that's why that's in the red, but to balance out the year end, which actually saw a net profit of $493,000, which is, NextGen is required to keep on hand a certain amount of cash to make sure that it stays viable. Another big part of this was restructuring pricing in February. So this went from full day, renting out of the facility to half day. And so we were able to generate more revenue that way because of the pricing structure change. We also have had a lot of interest, and I'll go into kind of how that has changed over the past year as well. So this brings us to, calendar year 2026 budget. So you can see 2025 up there just for comparison purposes. But it's expected that revenue will actually start to exceed that $5 million mark. And that then would trigger into the 10% because we'd be over $500,000 in terms of what gets paid back to CCTA. The loan and debt services, that's the payments back to CCTA. And I'll go into more detail on those. And then still holding out close to $700,000 for additional improvements to better serve partners out there. But expecting to, again, kind of finish the year balanced out on that. There is a requirement that more money that comes in goes into improving the Gomentum Station. So payments to CCTA in 2025. So the $500,000 commitment was not paid in 2024. However, it was fully paid in 2025 with an additional $125,000 to go towards that the initial 2024 payments, which was 3 quarters, so that'd be around $375,000. Also, they continue to, there was a $1 million loan from the FER, and so they've been continuing to make payback on that. For 2026, expected to make the full $500,000 plus an additional $250,000 towards those original payments, or to the 2024 payments, which would actually then clear that out. So they'd be all paid up from the first 3 years of operation at that point. Thank you, Lindy. Much better. And then continue to make loan payments for 2026 as well. So on the loan front, this was a loan from the FER of $1 million, which was to help get NextGen started at Gomentum Station. The terms was a 7-year repayment schedule with variable interest, and basically they would request advancement from this loan and then would be expected to pay that back. So to date, they've been making regular payments on that. The outstanding loan balance is $742,000 on that. Financial projections, so 2025 is shown on there. Again, the green line on here, the net income is relatively flat. This is because of the nature of nonprofits and CCTA. So again, spending excess funds that come in from revenue are expected to go back into the program as well as pay into the Gomentum Station account, or the Gomentum account that CCTA has. This is what I was mentioning in terms of inquiries and signed contracts. So a lot of interest has actually increased in 2025 with a lot of partners looking at expressing interest in coming and testing at Gomentum. We see that green dotted line is the increase in inquiries since April 2024. And then several new partners have signed on since then, 4 new partners this year. And basically, actually, this time of 193 days from inquiry to contract is actually decreasing as well. Utilization has been up and down. Some of this is because we've lost some of the locations, but also some of the key kind of tier 1 partners that for reasons outside of kind of our control have gone away or stopped testing there. But due to the restructuring of the pricing structure that I mentioned in February of 2025, that's why there's not a big change in the revenue over that time. But again, we see this as kind of a key focus area in increasing utilization over the next year. There is a marketing plan for 2026. This is really shifting. So we had the transition, we had the stabilization of 2025, and now we're looking for proactively growing the testing that's happening out there in 2026. That's why $130,000 has been set aside for in the budget for marketing, and really looking at some key tier 1 partners that will really help to anchor the model out there. It also includes $60K in grant writing in the budget. That's to look for other funding sources to help to drive testing out there. So I wanted to just walk through one of the examples of where CCTA is using this for our own projects out there. This was the bus on shoulder testing and training that happened at Gomentum Station. Andy and Hisham led this. It was actually really successful in terms of getting a lot of interest across stakeholders to come participate in this. County Connection was a key partner on this. It's a really good experience on partnering with them. This was to look at bus on shoulder that we've been looking at as part of the Innovate 680 program and running that on 680 northbound from San Ramon up to Walnut Creek So this was kind of initial testing to see how that would work. A lot of that was geared around 6 different scenarios that looked at what happens at the on-ramps and off-ramps. So this is just a great example of where we could actually use Gomentum Station to look at future technologies. Utilize several locations out there for various scenarios. I think this is going to start to play this time. There it goes. So we have a bunch of drone footage of all this testing to see how the vehicles would interact with the buses. This was a simulated on-ramp scenario, which actually had ramp metering. This is where the vehicle did not stop at the ramp metering and actually blew through to have the bus drivers test how they would react to that. Here's another one that was, this is with a 2-lane off-ramp. So put striping out there. This was all run for different scenarios. Caltrans was out there, California Highway Patrol was out there, and actually Caltrans was in the middle of developing their kind of standards for bus on shoulder operations, and basically kind of put that on pause so they could come out here, watch all this, and wait for us to give our results so they could help influence the statewide guidance for that. So just an example of where we can utilize Gomentum Station for testing out things that will make transportation better in Contra Costa County. One thing I'll also add is we've just got, Tim mentioned at the last board meeting, the SS4A grant, which is going to look at connected vehicles and how they'll communicate from emergency vehicles to autonomous vehicles and make sure that they stay clear of an emergency site. That's another example of where a lot of testing is going to be done out at Gomentum Station with that grant that's federally funded. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from anyone?
Yeah, well, first of all, great report. Glad to hear things are going, and great to see Kevin here. The revenue actually is going up 35.5%. Huge drop in, major drop in December. What is it that, is it actually signed contracts that show that kind of an increase? Or is that speculation?
For the forecast?
Yeah, the forecast, it said 25%, but it's actually 35.5. It's almost 36, over the 4 point whatever million to the 5 point. So what's driving, do we actually have contracts, or is that an estimate?
It's a combination of both. We have increased the number of partners that have signed contracts quite a bit, but
Great.
The rate at which those convert into actually testing out there is a different question and is somewhat of an estimate. As we know, the partners out there tend to be somewhat secretive about what they want to test, and so it's really an estimate based on what we're hearing. It's not necessarily, it has not been booked out through 2026.
Okay, but I think, based on what I was saying earlier about Washington and administration, it bodes well. We're in a strong position because they want to give more money into this testing phase. In fact, they talked about it in some of the other venues we're at. So I think we're strategically well placed, and appreciate the update. Thank you. And the payments too.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, what's the relative timing between getting the ramp metering going and the bus on shoulder going in South County?
Yeah, there's currently no funding for actual implementation of that, so we're not sure what the timeline will be on that. We're looking for funding.
Testing only.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just to clarify, so the ramp metering is fully funded for the project. I mean, the bus on shoulder, we're still looking for funding for bus on shoulder, so, but the ramp metering project on 680, that'll go to construction sometime probably like late 2028. That's what we're talking about, right? Or 27? Or we're going to open late 28, that's right. So we're going to construction in 27 and then opening in late 2028. So I think the bus on shoulder, though, that's Hisham's project, and that one, we're funded through PAED, right? And we got to do the environmental document phase, and I think what's kind of holding that up is pretty much the guidelines from Caltrans, right?
Yeah, correct. We're funded through actually PAD and design, so we're looking for funding for construction.
Yeah, great report. What about the future of testing locations? What sort of things are you looking into for that?
Yeah, so we previously had discussions around the Pittsburgh steel sites. With Nippon Steel buying US Steel, that kind of went on hold. But in the meantime, we've also been looking elsewhere. Richmond Field Station presented a couple months ago, 6 months ago or so, that we have a letter of intent with Richmond Field Station and UC Berkeley to partner with them on testing out there. They'd actually like us to run their test facility at Richmond Field Station. We're still in the process of getting all the terms in place for that. And then we've recently been exploring a couple sites in Antioch that could be promising if we see we're in early stages of that, but so that could be a pivot away from the Pittsburgh Steel site if necessary.
Okay. Great. Is there any public comment?
We have no public comment, written or virtual.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Really
Yep.
quick. I just want to note Kevin Romick's in the audience, the Executive Director of Next Generation Mobility. You're all familiar with Kevin, and just a huge shout out to Kevin and NextGen for all the great work that they're doing out there at Momentum Station and the support that they've been providing. I mean, it's been a journey, but I think it's a positive journey as noted in the presentation. So just want to note Kevin, and then I also want to thank Ryan also for, usually this is me giving this presentation, and so I'm really thankful that Ryan's here and stepping in and managing Momentum Station. And so I'm sure you don't get sick and tired of hearing from me. And Ryan's just doing a great job kind of stepping in and learning all the numbers and how it all works out there. So really appreciate Ryan's efforts on all the work that's happening out there. So.
Thanks, Kevin. And while I would thank Ryan, he still left Pleasant Hill, so I'm still annoyed. So.
Get over it. I had to get over it.
Yeah. All right. Well.
But I love it.
Okay. Next item is correspondence and communication, and we have no correspondence in the packet. We're now moving to commissioner and staff comments. Any commissioners have anything to say? Okay. I don't have any comments. I'll hold off on my MTC stuff until the full board meeting. And so I don't bore you to tears. Do we have any comments from Tim or staff? Any more comments from Tim or staff?
It just happens to be the day and I just want to do it, but today's Jay's anniversary today for CCTA. So it's 2 years at CCTA, and I don't have any other updates, so really appreciate Jay and all the work. And then I just have one request, actually. So when we adjourn, if everyone can just pause, and we're going to reveal our brand new sign that we have here on the board. So when we adjourn, if we can just pause, because we can't do the screen now because it'll shut the whole Zoom system down. So we got to wait for the meeting to end, and we can see our brand new wonderful sign here.
I thought you were like wanting us all to walk by Jay and shake his hand or something.
I mean, that would be great, actually. I mean, Jay can just sit there. You can high five him on the way out. No, I really appreciate that. Let's do that.
That's where I thought he was going. So, sorry. Okay. Next regular meeting is scheduled for March 5th, and that concludes